Hi, everybody. Scott Taylor, Data Whisperer, here at the Gartner Data and Analytics Summit in Orlando at the Senzing booth, talking to one of their partners, ThinkData Works, and their CTO and co-founder, Brendan Stennett. Good to see you, Brendan.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
So tell me about ThinkData Works. What do you guys do?
We are a virtual data company. So what we specialize in is allowing organizations to connect to siloed data assets, regardless of where they live in the organization, expose it as a single virtual database. So what we're able to do with that is actually connect to different databases, flat files, you name it, throughout the organization, actually map to it, provide a whole search interface for actually viewing everything that's available, and then actually querying it through a ODBC or JDBC endpoint to actually make it easy for organizations to then bring it downstream, work into data visualizations or data intelligence or business intelligence tools.
Wow. So even though the data is locked in those silos, which is that classic situation of most enterprises, they can still leave it there and yet leverage it across different other types of data in the organization?
Yeah, that's correct. You don't have to go through a large cloud lift and shift that might exist, put data all into a central location just to start answering questions about it. You can leave everything where it is, connect to it exactly where it is in one spot, and then actually expose it to a single virtual database.
That's awesome. So how do you work with the Senzing folks?
Yeah, so one of the problems that we actually see oftentimes is that despite the fact that it is siloed and now we can actually make it available through one endpoint, it might not be linkable as directly as it is. You might have different operations that are supported by the company that have different customer IDs, for example. You might have your retail point of sale have one information or your online business, for example, having another. To actually have a link between those is actually very challenging. Sometimes you might have an email address that's shared, but maybe not always. Sometimes you might have a name that is very partially shared, or you might have abbreviated name or only a last name. Very difficult for systems to actually determine if this is in fact the same individual or not. What we could do is, because we can now query this as one single virtual database, we can easily access it, but we still need to determine whether or not it's the same, and that's where Senzing comes in, where we can actually feed it into the Senzing engine, and it can actually do matching on different attributes to determine if this is in fact the same individual or not. Once we've done that, we can present it as a single consolidated ID around that matching exercise. And you can actually easily answer questions around what is the total order volume for this individual,
Right.
not for this particular customer record. It might only be a partial volume of there.
It's an age-old problem that companies are trying to solve. And so you can answer very basic questions like, okay, how many customers do I have? Right, that sort of thing, and a consolidated
ability of my customer.
Beautiful, beautiful. So do you have a real-world example, maybe a client, customer who's done something? You can name names if you want, but just to get an idea of how somebody's put this into play.
Yeah, so we work with a lot of energy companies as well. In one space that we're finding a lot of interest in, and sometimes they can have very challenging issues because they have data that is spread out through multiple systems that are all individual silos that have all come on through perhaps different vendors as they've been onboarded, right? They may have gone through consolidation or M&A activity, and they have difficulty actually determining whether or not this is the same individual across different accounts through their system. What we were able to do is now connect to all of those different siloed data assets, feed it through Senzing, and then actually determine a global view of the individual so that when they need to go through marketing campaigns or whatever it may be, they can actually do so easily because now they have a global picture of what they're actually selling that customer. Without this information, they might not actually know that they're selling particular plans or particular services to customers,
right?
Because it's locked for two different systems.
Yeah, or knowing that two entities are connected, or knowing that they're duplicates, and all those kinds of problems that, again, the enterprise have been dealing with ever since there was a second source of data. They've been dealing with these kind of problems.
We also see a lot of interest in companies that are very acquisitive. There's a lot of M&A activity where they're consolidating a lot of companies into one.
Oh.
As soon as they do that, they immediately have two different systems or more that they're actually trying to integrate with. They can start to go through a large migration to bring data into their system, but to actually create a single view of that data before they go through that exercise is immensely powerful. They can actually go through with a lot more information than they were previously able to do before, and they can actually come up with a detailed plan of exactly how these two systems are going to start to talk together and how the migration is actually going to work.
Well, this is super, Brendan. Thank you. If people want to find out more, where do they go?
ThinkDataWorks.com. Who's in that? No fast part.
Great. Well, great talking to you today. Thank you very much. Scott Taylor, Data Whisperer. We'll see you next time.